put him on his back. Thurston, right foot kick, down the ground, into the in goal almost. Hodgson cuts it off. Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Johnson away.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 4th of March, 2026. You're back for another episode, a day late episode of the Tiger Town podcast with your hosts, Zach and Toby. Zach at this end, Toby at the other, brought to you as always by Best on Ground Digital. Best on Ground Digital, the digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy. Score in the corner with bestongrounddigital.com. Toby, how you going? Champion.
Oh, mate, footy's back in general, so that was good. Watched a bit of the footy on the Sunday, but still got to wait another week for Tigers, so that's annoying. But apart from that, mate, things are going well. A lot of positivity heading into this season. I'm very, very, very excited. And one of the reasons I feel like I'm excited is and I'm going to touch wood while I say this, is haven't really been in the news when it comes to boardroom shit. Seems to have passed. Thank God.
Yeah, well, it's certainly on the back burner for the moment. And I think that was what they sort of came to with the Benji extension and everything else that happened off the back of the response was, right, let's quieten it off. Long may it stay that way. But
absolutely.
If you're a betting man, it's not where the smart money is. We don't talk about that this year. However, you did mention news, so it's probably time, I think, mate, for a little show called News from Tiger Town. Yes, it is News from Tiger Town, a collection, an array, an assortment of the news stories from the past week, all collated together for you. First up, we've got Josisi Lenyon, who is extended for 2 years. Young player coming through, Jersey Flag Player of the Year last year for us. Plays a bit of hooker, plays a bit of lock as well. We saw a bit of him in the trial against the Roosters, I think, from memory. And yeah, looked quite good there in the middle. So another one to look out for, Josisi Lenyon. Mate, got much opinion on him?
I don't have any opinion on him. I've never seen him really play. So when it comes to these juniors and it comes to these kids through the squad, I actually, while I may run the pathways and everything like that, I'm just read scores. It's mainly you that I take a lot of these notes from. You told me about Macassini 3 years ago. You told me about, even before all of these forums came about, I don't know how you found out about him, but you told me about Chris Lawrence back in 2006. Don't know how you found out about him, to be honest. Did you just read a paper or something? Who knows? But no, I haven't heard much about him at all.
Yeah. No, he's a good player. And younger brother, James, plays out wide there for the Magpies. You'll talk about him later in your weekly Pathways Roundup. He had a good little match on the weekend, mate, against the Tigers.
Yep.
Other than that, there's the big story on Terrell May and sort of broke his silence about his silence over the off season. Nothing sinister there. Basically, just approached the club and made a decision himself to sort of pull back a little bit. Felt a little bit burned out physically and mentally, and wanted to really focus on getting right and having a good and solid pre-season. So made the request at the club to sort of keep him out of most media, put himself on a self-imposed media ban of sorts, and sort of just stepped away from the limelight for a little bit. So that, in a lot of ways, I'd suspected that's what it was, but that's sort of the first we've heard, and it puts to bed any issues around injuries. Even though he was out with a bit of back tightness, he says he's going to be ready and raring to go. Mate, I'll give you a chance to have a comment on that in a sec, but also in the same story, there was mention of his love of the Tigers and the fact that the want of maybe Tyrone coming across as well at some point. Talk about how only Benji and Bennett were the two that were willing to take a risk on Tiny when he was coming back, and Benji was one of them. They owe him a lot for that, and he wants to be a Tiger for life. He also spoke about the fact that he and Richo were working on an extension before Richo got the backdoor kick last year. So not a lot has eventuated since then. That's the roundup of it. Toby, mate, what was your take on the story? And have you got a line of thinking on the contract extension, I guess.
Yeah, the article in itself was just more of what's he been up to and why is he who he is, more of anything. But when it comes to that contract extension, I am a little bit concerned, if I am being brutally honest. He was players' player last year, our front leader in every sense of the word. It's fantastic that, we've got some of these other guys tied up and all this stuff, but there's two big names that we need to make sure that we're getting tied up, and one of them is Terrell. And so I'd like to hope that maybe it's just a pause in terms of getting the board sorted, getting all that sorted before those negotiations start back up. That's what I'd hope. Benji is most likely kicking down the door to try to get him to re-sign. And the whole reason, I guess, that we extended Benji for as long as we did was because of his rapport with these key players. As long as Benji's coaching, I dare say Terrell will want to be here. Luai want to be here. Appy want to be here. All of these really key players will want to be here. So, yeah, a little bit concerned that was what he came out saying. It doesn't really feel like, I don't even know who his manager is, to be honest. But, those sort of lines come from other players and other agents that kind of try to just push their needle. I'm not naming names, but Isaac Moses. But he doesn't really seem that type of bloke to have those kind of sort of ulterior motives. He just sort of shoots from the hip. So, yeah.
Okay. I don't think there's much in it at all. I think people are quick to forget that it was only a couple of months ago that everything blew up in everybody's face, and that's all happened in a single off season. And there was a lot of things that had to be quelled and quashed and squashed and pushed to the side and then moved forward with. And I think that Millercamp really prioritised the fans in his opening month or so, 6 weeks in the job. We've seen that with how much he's engaged with the fans and pushed that narrative or that angle, I should say. So I'm sure he'll get to it. I know that the Buller negotiation's still ongoing. He has extended the likes of Sione and rejigged the 12 contract for the betterment of the club, we hear. He's extended the likes of Lanyon. So they're not resting on their laurels, and I'm sure that it's something that's probably more a fait accompli. I don't really share your doubts about it. I think if a player is openly stating they want to be a Tiger for life and they love the club and their performance shows no reason to believe any different, their family's there, they want to bring their next brother there. We know for a fact the coach loves them. You got to. It's a slam dunk. Like that's shooting fish in a barrel right there. So you got to have a fair bit go wrong to get that part wrong.
Well, I'm hoping one of us has to be the optimist, one of us has to be the pessimist in this pod. Otherwise, it's just too cheery. So,
well, good segue. Poor old Terrell was in the headlines late last week for the wrong reasons, with some private stuff involving him getting shared from a long time ago, apparently, in a bit of a privacy breach. So, we'll wait and see what happens in regards to that. But that was something that's no good for him. There was a Pathways Club Day at Camden last week, which was there was a fair few junior rep sides that were in action. Good turnout down there, apparently, in the annual golf day for 2026.
Yeah, did you watch the video on YouTube of that?
The which?
The video on YouTube for the golf day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, honestly, Taruva just needs to do something in media after this. He's just too good in front of a camera.
Yeah, he's a character, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a good character. And, yeah, the golf day apparently went well too. Mac has extended 3 more years. There's an ad with, who was in there? It was Jarrell, Massey, and someone. Sol, I think, Sakura. So they did an ad for Macca's extending 3 more years, which is good. Sponsors are sticking around, mate. Sponsors are upgrading, which is a big positive. And then outside of that, that's about the roundup, mate. Anything else you want to add that you picked up on over the course of the week?
No, not really. The big one that sort of stuck out for me was obviously the Terrell article. But like I said before, sometimes no media is good media. Let's focus on the year ahead.
Agreed. That was news from Tiger Town. We've got to be quick on the sound effects tonight, mate, because it's just absolutely all happening. We are going to get into our final instalment of State of the Squad with State of the Backs tonight, and you're going to be the screen share man, the stat man, the guru, the fella himself momentarily. But before we do that, mate, we need to jump into another little segment. It's your weekly Pathways Roundup.
Yes, generally we do this at the end of the show, but we're doing it now because every time we do this State of the Squad sort of segments, we do tend to ramble and rush through certain things. So we're getting it out of the way now so we can focus on that part. So first off, kicking it off for the SG Ball and the Harold Mats, it was actually a local showdown. It was Magpies v Tigers. So both the Maggies got the victory, got the chocolates in both. For the SG Ball, Magpies won 36-14. As you mentioned, Jimmy Lanyon, again, haven't seen much of him, haven't seen anything of him, so really want to, if you've got a bit of opinion on him, I'll probably keep a bit closer eye on him as well. And then, Godinay also went over, Godinay is he's already too good for SG Ball. He'll probably go up to Jersey Flag after this. But yeah, I didn't realise that Jimmy Lanyon was also a goal kicker as well. So, and then we move on to the Harold Mats. Once my screen loads, give me 2 seconds, sorry. For some reason, because I closed the tab and it's not opening. How good's technology? Piece of fucking shit.
Dealing with it well over there.
Yeah, thanks. It's just my forte, clearly.
Right.
But 32-4 to the Magpies. It just popped up then, and then it went away again. So there you go, 32-4. Thanks. Sweet. See you later. Whatever. Shit ass fucking internet. There we go. Again, not a lot of these guys that I am aware of, except for maybe Isaac Isdale, but only because of his brother. His brother's in SG Ball. So yeah, it went down 32-4. All of these are out at Camden. And then if we move on to, I guess, the youngins, Laurie Daly Cup, we absolutely smacked the Western Rams. Western Rams is based in Lincoln. So that's 66-6. Josh Vella ended up scoring tries and kicking goals. So bit of a gun there. And again, the Tigers ended up beating the Rams in Andrew Johns Cup. So, and El Masri is actually listed there. I wonder if there's any relation to Hazem. Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a query. It's probably a query for the boys over in Wow.
Was Hazem El Masri Lebanese?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Wonder how popular a surname that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Community. Yeah,
I haven't heard of him.
It could be, but that's definitely one to keep an eye on if it is, because if he's anything like his dad with the boot, handy goal kicker.
Handy goal kicker. They had a couple of Bulldogs. They had Daryl Halligan at one point too.
Yeah.
Kicker.
Daryl Halligan kind of revolutionised the goal kicking.
Yeah, he turned into a real art and science, didn't he?
He did. And I think he was one of the first to really put it on an angle. Generally, it was always put upright and almost toe punted, Mal Meninga style.
Toe pokes early, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very good.
But yeah.
That's you, mate. That's the weekly Pathways Roundup. Rounded up.
That is the roundup done.
All right, mate. State of the Backs time. We've been promising part 3, and we've just been stringing everyone along. Not that anyone probably cares, but for those who do, you are the real supporters. Mate, it's probably over to you time with the players. You ready to rock and roll your end?
Mate, the way that this screen's going at the moment, just give me a second because it's been a pain in my ass.
Okay.
It's like every time I change a tab.
I hope your swear jar is big tonight because we're good for one or two, mate. You are racking up the Christmas party.
I'm on fire, am I? I'm on fire.
Raining in some.
Nice to know.
Whilst you are figuring out your technology, kudos to you for not blaming me this time.
No, it's all me.
I'm going to run through our list of backs that we've got. We'll extend off into some of the extended squad as well, but in terms of top 30, here is what we've got. We've got Dewey. Oh, we've already run through halves, haven't we? Silly, foolish me. We've got Hamasi Makasini. Heath Mason probably gets a mention. We've got Jareem Buller. We've got Jarrell Skelton, Luke Laulili, Sol Sakuru, Stafford Toa, Tito Taruva, Taylor May, and William Craig. We do have a few others that we will mention as well, the likes of your Tavares and whatnot, but we'll mention those guys as we work our way through. We had to just do a jump back in. A few bits and pieces went wrong, but here we go. State of the squad backs. Toby, you're in, mate. Over to you. You're running the show. Let's rock and roll. Let's see how we stack up heading into the season in the backs department. What do you got for it?
Let's share a screen so anyone that is on YouTube can see what I'm looking at. So obviously, if we go through the state of the backs, you got to start with number one, and who our starting number one is. So obviously, this is Buller. So yeah, Buller's obviously for me 2025 from what I saw wasn't his best year. I thought he dropped off a bit, but I had a look at some of his stats, and some of them are actually the best he's had. So obviously, stats don't tell you the whole story, because one of the big things I was critical of him was his urgency, and the fact that he coasts sometimes when he should really sprint to the issue. But mate, he is still an elite fullback, if not maybe not elite, but he can definitely become an elite fullback. So,
yeah, I'm just going to defer to what I said about him when we did him in the spine.
Oh, we did do him in the spine, didn't we? Didn't even think of that.
All good, mate.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, honestly, just another recap on that is, if you have a look at that, average run meters, kick return meters obviously was a little bit, kick return meters actually was a little bit down as well. Interesting. So then I will flick through the fullbacks because I completely forgot we'd already done the spine. So again, if we've said Taruva, we pushed on. I don't know. Did we go Taruva?
We mentioned him talking about fullback, but let's talk about him from a winger's perspective.
Yep. Obviously, second year with us from a winger's perspective. Look, he can definitely up those running meters, but I loved what he brought in 2025. I think there's still room for improvement. I think there's, what I saw from him in the trial. I'm just going to take it as trial form. I wouldn't say it was the best. I felt like he at times jammed when he didn't need to. When I say not the best, there is for me, from what I've seen of Taruva over the last 4 years, his best and his worst, even his worst is most people's good. So, there's not a big fall of a drop when it comes to his best and his worst, but I just think there is room for him to improve. No? Don't agree?
No, he's good. Happy. If there's I think we undersell everything that he provides. There's a bit of an issue under the high ball. It's always going to be with someone who's a bit shorter, but he does pretty well considering. Outside of that, he's a magic finisher. He gets to the line. He knows how to get there. He's an unconventional defender, but he's pretty good, relatively good. Stacks up relatively well in most matchups, even against bigger men. And I think he works hard to cover and goes looking for work out of the backfield. So I love Tito. He's awesome, man. And great winger. Moving on.
I mentioned it before. He's such a personality, and I reckon he's one of the main people that creates that nucleus of a playing group. You know, remember last year in that documentary, had Benji pulled him aside and told him, like, you don't realize how big of an influence you are on this playing group.
Yeah.
I love him. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love him. I just think he can improve in areas, and that's not a bad thing. Move on to who we're probably all picking as the next starting winger, which is our boy Makasini, or as I called him, Hamasi Lomu. I think everyone else did. Do we we know what we've already seen of him? There's obviously we're looking. You know, you love to say this, especially at the start of the year. We're looking at a very small sample size. We've seen him play 2 games probably against, or 3 games against men. He's played the last game last year, and then the 2 trials. And even the first trial probably wasn't against men. A lot of them were, SG ball flag players. So again, very small sample size. But what he did to Dylan Edwards is a testament of where this kid can go, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone knows we won't waste people's time with the usual chat about him and waxing lyrical. I'm just excited to watch him grow and prosper and hopefully have a long career at the Tigers. We'll see how we go. I just wanted to ask you specifically on him, though. Forget his name, forget what he's done thus far, forget his age. What do you like as him as a player? If Marcy was John Smith, age 25, what he's been producing, what is it specifically that you like? And why is he, from what we've seen in recent times, particularly the trial form and bits and pieces last year in the lower grades, and then obviously in his one game he had, what is it specifically that he offers that maybe pushes him ahead of a Skelton, regardless of whether Skelton's ready or not? We all know, but I'm saying as a player.
That's it's probably a few things, to be honest. For me, all right, you said forget his age, forget all this stuff. Even 25-year-olds who are not seasoned veterans but are coming into grade or just making it, they do sometimes just seem out of their depth. He doesn't. He doesn't
Yep.
feel that way. He doesn't feel like he's out of his depth. He feels like he's ready. And that's, for me, for somebody that is, 19 this year? No, 18 this year? 19 this year. 19 this year. 2007. It says it right there. 19 this year. That's a scary prospect for somebody that feels like he's just ready. There's no need to go between, obviously still eligible for flag.
I've said forget his age. You've mentioned his age multiple times, and now you're talking about him being flag eligible. Here's the correct answer. He goes looking for a lot of work. He takes plenty of carries. He's hard to handle in I'm messing with you, mate. Yeah, good in contact. He's good in the air. He's a hard sort of big 1%ers player. And so just like the fact that he is 18 and the fact that he's got a big, hectic junior resume and looks really good, I think just adds to the superstar potential qualities in him. But as a player himself, he offers quite a bit and a bit of versatility in there too, obviously being a first choice centre more so than anything. Do you agree with any of that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know you said don't bring up his age, but it's just hard not to.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
I think for me too, I said he just doesn't have his desk. His calmness, he doesn't seem flustered. That's a really good quality to have.
I like
Regardless of age.
how he's a moments player. We've already seen that, but even moments in defence, he'll back himself to make a big call, to come in at the right time to shut down a play, and that's encouraging because players that don't go after the game, rarely have an impact on the game. So
I think that also probably shows his footy intelligence and shit. Not a lot of people actually have that. So, you don't make it to the NRL without having some, but that's definitely something that I think we'll probably see blossom.
I
It's
don't, yeah,
the game.
yeah. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but I think the big one for me is how much he goes looking for work. Like you need players that are hungry for carries and hungry for meters and hungry to get at the defence, and he's got it. So
Yeah.
that's what really excites me because you know that he's not going to be the type of player to drift in and out of games too much either. So he'll be there and he'll be in the thick of it most weeks, which is good to see. All right, mate. Who you got next?
Next, we've got obviously the other person who's might get at the start. We don't know what's going to happen. It's hard to not go with Massey after what we saw, but obviously Drell Skelton had a pretty good year from my standards. There's a few little things here and there, but not much I didn't like about the way he played. I liked he played with aggression, intensity.
Yeah,
Looked like he just wanted to bulldoze anyone that was in front of him. Again,
he's hungry for work too. He's a handful, Jarrell.
he is, and he just, he's just obviously for me, it's a carbon copy of Tuiaki. And we mentioned it either last week or the week before. It might have been last week because I think we were talking about what our lineup would look like come round two, and I had him on my bench because I think he can transition into a very good second rower, if not a lock, just running through the middle. If you remember
Yeah,
that last,
I'm really big on him in on an edge.
yeah,
Really big. Yeah.
and I think that's it. I think there's definitely something that I think we talked about Massey having versatility. I think he has it more in terms of yes, Massey. I think Massey could even fill in at fullback if needed. I dare say. But from a Skeleton perspective, you have him on the bench for more than just a wing replacement. You have him there because he can come into the forwards. So, yeah.
Yep. Cool.
After that, we've got Mr. Laulii off to Perth next year, unfortunately, but there's just a logjam. And at the moment, he's obviously kicking down the door with a lot of those trial performances, but there is just a few players in front of him, and the only way realistically he's getting a start is if injury occurs. So he kind of has to go to Perth.
Yeah, possibly, but there's been a lot of talk that he's been a real standout over the off season, and I know that comes up from time to time. There's been a few names that we've heard about, and he's been one of them. And I've been equally impressed with his minutes that he has had in the trial form as well. I've always had a soft spot for Luke because I like the way that he goes about his football, like the intensity that he plays with. But to me, he looks more of a handful this year than in past years. And like I said, players and coaches alike have dropped his name and I've heard from a number of areas that he was right in the mix for one of those wing spots before Marcy sort of tore the roof off the place with his trial performances.
Yeah.
So yeah, he looks, mate. Luke is perfect, the perfect number 18 in this new extended bench. And he'll be there every week if he's not needed in the upper squad at the very least, from my opinion, just given his versatility through the back line and the fact that he's been around the first grade system as well is something that might get forgotten about for a couple of years now.
Yeah, well, if you remember when he did debut, Benji said I would have debuted him early if he was, if I could. So, but
said the same thing about Marcy.
Yeah, here's an interesting thing too. I brought up Skelton in terms of being in my 19 for the sheer fact that he can cover backs as well as forwards. Luke obviously can cover everything in the back, but he, maybe in a pinch he can move in the lock or something like that. But if you had to have the two, you had to choose one or the other. Do you think that Luke is more of a better option than Skelton based on what I've said?
Unequivocally, because you're probably rocking with 4 other forwards on that extended bench anyway. So I don't need a back who can play forward because I've already got forwards. So that's the way I'm thinking it. If I'm going to have a back substitute and the fact that he can play anywhere from fullback to wing to centre, and like you said, you can play running 5'8" if you want, or put him in the middle if you have to. But usually the benches, I think, will still remain forward heavy. So remember I was talking about Charlie Murray's versatility being better covered by other players that will probably be on the bench too. And I was saying how that could almost work against him in some ways. I see that with what you're talking about. I understand 100% what you're saying, but if Giral, if we're putting Giral because we think we might need to play Giral as a second rower, particularly as he hasn't trained into it that much, we're probably down a few second rowers over the course of the game. Because there's probably a few people that are there or thereabouts that will go in before him in the second row. Anyway, that's my line of thinking with it.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think just for me, it really depends on how bendy you would want to go to. If you wanted like a really heavy bench,
Yeah.
Like you've got, your Bunties, your Royces, and then if you wanted that, you'd probably have someone like a Sione or someone like that. But for me, that's a really heavy middle, and there are a
Yep.
lot of fronties in that one.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's just my line of thinking.
Yep. Cool.
And then we've got the guy that's probably all the way down the bottom in Mr. William Craig. Still a young kid, obviously 20 years old. Hasn't debuted yet for us, but he's made the top. He's now been upgraded to the top 30. Again, he's one of those ones that'll probably only get a look in if there's injuries. I don't think he'll get a lot of game time otherwise.
Yeah, so Will's one of the last sort of leftover long-term contracts from the Sheens McDonald age days, I think, off the back of the Harold Matts West Magpies winning side that they signed a bunch of them up for longer-term deals, and I think he's one of the last ones on that deal. Look, he's a good young player for sure, but it's just I don't know that where his ceiling is at and whether NRLs is in that discussion. And certainly, there's with respect to Will, there's quite a few players in the club who are well ahead of him in the pecking order. In my estimation, but that's not to say that he doesn't. He's not a player that works hard and puts in everything else as well. He's a West Tiger, so I've got no doubt that's the case. But yeah, I'm like you. I don't expect to see much of him, but we'll see what happens over the course of the year.
Yeah, again, there's probably even like flag players that are ahead of him. So unfortunate, but not everything turns out the way you hope. And then I think we're moving into the centers now. So, Tiny obviously is our first choice. Regardless if he goes left or right, who cares? He's still our first choice.
He'll be on the left, mate. He'll be on the left.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, if it was a pinch and it was like, who's your first centre, regardless of the side they're playing on?
Yeah,
he's your first.
Of course.
So, for me, he's just an all around strong centre. Like his reads and defense is probably what impresses me most about him. I feel like he slides and he sticks and he jams exactly what he needs to. And you were talking about it before with Massey, in that Massey chooses his moments, chooses when to inject himself, and I think potentially a lot of that also comes from the communication from Tiny.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed to see. I'm so excited to see what he's going to do with a full preseason under his belt with us, and then rocking into another full year with us as well. So
yeah, mate, no doubt. He's just a quality player on both sides of the ball. He's strong defensively. He's strong offensively. Give him early ball. He can pass. He can fan jink to the outside. He can brush defenders off. He's strong. He's quick. And he can run lines too. We saw that last year. He pops. We don't see a heap of it. And I think we predicted a few weeks back that we might predict, fingers crossed, whatever, but we might see some early ball to our centres this year. At least it looked that way.
it did.
Yeah, and so we might not see as many flat balls at the line, but that's going to exist. Yeah, mate, we got really, really lucky landing Taylor, and he seems like he's on a good trajectory now, and everything's all sorted with his future and his playing career. He's got life heading in the right direction in hopefully this year.
Yep.
The pre-season under his belt, that left edge and he, by extension, are going to have a big season. A little smoky for you. I reckon he'll be in the top couple, if not take out centre of the year. I reckon he's a big chance.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. I think there may even be talks, and this is way too early to tell, but he might be in a conversation for a Blues jersey as well. So.
Well, if he keeps up the form he had last year, in the back end of last year, he should be. Because he was just about the form centre of the comp at the time.
So who the hell knows?
Hey?
There's Laurie Daly coaching, so who the hell knows?
Who knows? But yeah, we'll wait and see. Very, very happy to have a player of his quality on board, and hopefully he spends the rest of his career in a Tigers jersey. Would be nice.
Well, I mean, apparently, if we can pull out Tyrone from Super League, we can get them all three for. Tyrone can take or leave, but if we can lock these two down for long term, I'll take Tyrone as well.
Yeah, it's a discussion for another day, that Tyrone situation. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And then we got the other probably lock in the other centre in Stafford. Look, I had Stafford as probably one of the premier centres at the start of the year. I thought he was outstanding. He was so dangerous. Like that. Do you remember that flick he gave out? I think it was against the Roosters. I've watched that flick, I reckon, at least 30 times. It was so good. And he's so strong.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it was injuries or fatigue or whatever, it died off for me at the back end of last year. But again, I didn't see enough in the trial to make me super excited about his form again. You saw it differently than I did, but I thought there was obviously a couple of weaknesses still in there. A couple of really good fends, don't get me wrong. But I don't like it. The word is he's not 100%, and he may never be. So I don't know. I want him to get back to the form that I saw at the start of last year. I want that so bad, because I think we easily have probably a centre pairing that can match it with the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
if he gets back to that early ball form that we saw, especially with having Kai Pearce-Paul at that side as well, who's going to draw defenders away from him. And he can be the beneficiary of offloads in semi-broken field play more often or at a higher frequency with KPP out there, hopefully. And he recaptures some of that. That's a centre combination, because when he's hot, mate, everybody knows and has seen it. He gets real hot, but it's just, as we all know, he's made of glass, and he's prone to just wild swings of inconsistent performances.
yeah.
What is this now? What do you got there? It's his 7th. This will be heading into his 8th season in the NRL, debuting back in 2019. So still young, but he's got to start showing something, because there is now 3 legitimate centre options at the club, be it that 2 of them are left-sided. To your point, if Star isn't performing, then the discussions about Taylor and Marcy and who plays what centre moving forward might start to happen. And to your point, they might deem that Taylor is the more versatile footballer and can handle the right, and Marcy, being more of a left specialist, might work better on the left. Who knows? I don't think it's the right option now. The left side, we've barely got to see it, and we're excited about it, so we'll see what happens there. But, in the tail department, I just want to see him play well, and he's probably getting close to last chance saloon in some ways.
He is, but didn't he just extend last year?
I can't remember exactly. It popped into my head as I was talking. There's so many extensions and bits and pieces along the way, I can't recall.
I feel like he did. He only extended for 2 years.
Let's have a look. Confirm for you. Yeah. All right, mate. You're getting towards the end of that main list. Who else you got there?
The last one on that list in terms of who's on the site, and we've got others that we can kind of discuss. But obviously, Sakura.
Tower is signed to the end of 28 too, by the way. So you're right.
Yeah. I actually liked what I saw of Solo again. I thought he was in the trials. I feel like he's more dangerous than people give him credit for. I remember seeing him at the start of last year as well in terms of the trials, and I was really excited about him. I thought that there was a potential for him to debut last year, but obviously that wasn't meant to be. But he's big. He's a big body. He's huge, actually. Holy crap! 115 kgs. He's huge.
He's a big boy. Always carry a little bit extra. Yeah, mate, he's always been a tackle breaker coming through. And I mentioned that he's been a big centre, and he's always carried a little bit extra and been strong out there. But he's quick, he's agile, he's athletic, he's got a good passing game. I think application and fitness, I think, is the things that have held him back maybe a little bit. But he's still super young, and like I said, they played him in centres in the trial, but I thought he'd been playing a little bit of back row last year in and around Cup and looked pretty good. So
him and Broadalow were sort of packing the back, especially when it came to Flegg.
Yeah.
They were the first choice second rowers, and then when he played Cup, he was playing a lot of back row as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a bit of versatility there as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward. He is signed just this year, so not sure what the situation is going to be moving forward with him, but we have to wait and see.
But yeah, apart from that, anyone else that's kind of on the radar, do you reckon?
Yeah, look, as I go down through the list, I've just got somewhat of an extended list here. We might see the likes of Patrick Herbert. We saw bits and pieces of him over the trials, obviously. And so, a bit to offer, a bit of experience there. Hopefully, it might take him a bit to get sort of back in the swing of things. Heath Mason's floating around the setup. We did mention him in maybe the spine discussion, I think. But once again, I think he could fill a gap at a pinch. He might find his way onto the six-man bench at various points in the season, mainly to his versatility. So we might see him pop up at centre or whatever the case may be. Has played a little bit of fullback, obviously, although, a lot of us aren't the biggest fans of him as a fullback per se moving forward. But, so Heath's another one as well. You got Tavana down will be playing New South Wales Cup. We got a taste of him, obviously, over the trial with that spectacular try he scored. There's probably again, there's going to be a few in there that we've missed that are on the periphery. Probably missed one right down the barrel as well. Mate, anything you want to add about those particular players?
No, not really. Look, I think they're going to be handy in a pinch, but I just think they're just obviously fringe players. So.
Yeah, with respect. All right. Well, on that note, mate, we might wrap the show up and move on from state of the squad. Anything else you want to mention?
No. Obviously, a nice short one this week with us having the round one bye. Fuck you,
yep.
NRL. But we can talk about the lineup next week, and we can talk about how excited we are because we're going to be at the game.
100% on the hill, mate. Looking forward to it. On the hill. So once again, we had to stitch this episode together, so it'll be seamless, no doubt, in post-production. But we're going to do our very best to sort out any of those issues moving forward. Mate, we always say that West Tigers media is good media in our eyes. West Tigers TV, West Tigers podcast, West Tigers Faithful podcast. Get on over and follow them. The Ambush on Facebook, westtigersforum.com. Best on Ground Digital. Thank you to our sponsor. They are legends. Best on Ground Digital. Your score in the corner with Best on Ground Digital. bestongrounddigital.com. They look after the little guy. They will not steer you wrong. Thanks to Best on Ground Digital. Mate, that's us. We got through part 3, State of the Squad. A little sticky beak around a couple of breaking news stories, and obviously your weekly Pathways roundup. Mate, last show for a long time without a Team List Tuesday, at the very least a game to review. So we actually have some footy to talk about and not a bunch of filler stuff that hopefully people have held on through. And thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. We adore you.
Yes, absolutely. Look, we'd want to be reviewing a game right now if we could, but we can't. But we still love to talk about our West Tigers. We still love to talk about our footy team. For anyone that listens to this is, if not more like same, or if not more passionate than we are. So, yeah, it just keeps us happy.
100%, and we'll be back next week. We're a day late, we're a buck short. But on that note, nothing more to say than go the mighty West Tigers.